We're getting you ready the day before Thanksgiving. Most people are going to actually drive to their holiday destination, with AAA expecting nearly 72 million to get behind the wheel. And the good news is it's going to be cheaper. The organization also says the national average price for a gallon of regular gas is just over $3. And in more than 24 states, that average drops below $3. And it's a busy day for those airports, though. Some off to a smoother start than others. AAA expects more than 5 million Americans to fly this week. Some headed out yesterday to beat today's big rush, which the TSA estimates will be the busiest day to fly before Thanksgiving. So let's go to Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, where we find CBS News correspondent Nicole Valdes. Welcome, Nicole. Happy Thanksgiving. Today being possibly the busiest travel day of the week. Are you seeing any delays or cancellations where you're at?
Well, Liz, this is in fact the world's busiest airport, but we're actually talking about what looks like a pleasant surprise to the thousands of people moving in and out of Atlanta alone, because wait times right now here, not only at the Delta ticketing area, but over in TSA, are not nearly as long as many people likely expected, as they recognize the nearly 3 million people expected to hit the skies today ahead of that Thanksgiving holiday. In terms of delays and cancellations, we're only at about 400 nationwide right now, a majority of those happening in Denver, where we know some significant winter weather is likely delaying many of those flights. But this is really an interesting situation. We're looking at a day where we are expecting to see nearly 50,000 flights across the U.S. and TSA and the FAA trying to do everything they can to prepare for that. Part of their initiative has actually focused on opening up airspace for a lot of these commercial flights, and they're really focusing in on that, calling them express lanes in the sky. They actually say that airspace in certain parts of the East Coast and the Gulf of Mexico that's typically designated for military use is actually going to be opened up today for commercial pilots to fly through, to try to really reduce the amount of delays that they'll see on, again, one of the busiest holiday travel days of the year.
Yeah, but it's great news if you see Atlanta is smooth sailing. That usually bodes well for the rest of the country, given, as you mentioned, Atlanta is such a huge airport and so many hubs are there. But I got to ask you about this. Police are upping their presence around Atlanta International's parking lot. What's going on there?
Yeah, maybe a new thing to worry about for those holiday travelers. You've already got a lot on your plate and a lot of stress when you're getting to the airport trying to make your flight. But now those who leave their cars in the parking garages may want to think a little bit more about protecting their vehicles. Atlanta police reporting more than 300 cars have been stolen from this airport alone just this year. Now they're trying to get more police officers in there, undercovers, motorcycle officers, and using other methods to try to really combat the crime that they've noticed a trend in. Thieves really noticing an opportunity there, with more than 40,000 parking spaces available at this airport alone. But we know it's not just happening at Atlanta. Other major airports, including Denver International and Dallas, also seeing a pretty big uptick over the last few years in car thefts at the airport.
That's pretty shocking, because you hear of people getting their cars broken into, but their actual car stolen. That is shocking. All right, CBS News correspondent Nicole Valdes at Atlanta International. Thanks so much, Nicole. All right, let's take it outside now and see how the conditions are looking in Colorado. Live look from Genesee. This is just outside of Denver. We've been looking at this all morning long, Jess, and it just seems to get more inclement. That snow is really coming down now.
Oh my gosh, to be out there on the roads right now. If you live up there, if you live off into the Sierra, you know the drill during this time of year. Have the chains ready to go. Now, that same storm system that brought in snow to the Rockies is actually moving its way throughout all the plains, off into the Northeast, bringing in rain just in time for the parade on Thanksgiving Day over into New York. Now, we have lots of active weather widespread throughout the states, but one thing I do want to mention, until 5 o'clock tonight, you see all that pink on the map just next to Colorado? That's a winter storm warning issued by the National Weather Service that we're going to talk about in just a second. That's going to last until 5 o'clock tonight, so take it slow out there on the roads. I know many Americans are just trying to get to their destination to spend time with their loved ones this week, but even in northern parts of Arizona and New Mexico, they're still dealing with the snow too into the next couple hours. We'll watch it really develop into the late night hours tonight, early morning hours tomorrow, closer to areas like Santa Fe. And another thing to mention too, that avalanche warning still lasts until Thursday for the higher peaks throughout the Colorado Rockies. And I think that's important to note too, especially if you're trying to travel throughout those passes. They're not expected to see too much more rain in the forecast for us, neither the snow. I mean, it's starting to really sweep off into the east pretty quick, but it is worth noting that we still have a little bit more dusting right around the corner. Now let's change gears. I want to talk about another hot spot when it comes to active weather just before Thanksgiving. If you live closer to Atlanta like we just saw, or anywhere throughout Alabama or eastern portions actually of Mississippi, there's that marginal risk for severe weather into the afternoon hours today, a chance of thunderstorm activity, and of course potential for tornadoes in those lower level areas. More on that in a bit. For now, back to you.
All right, Jess, thank you. Let's take a live look at LAX, where United Airlines technicians just walked off the job. The United Teamsters are picketing on one of the busiest travel days of the year. And according to FlightAware, 76 flights were delayed, 4 canceled at LAX right now. We're going to keep an eye on those numbers.